This is Grizzly's Growls, episode 29, and this is Grizzly.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, now from deep in the darkest forests of northern Minnesota, the show you've waited for. This is Grizzly's Growls. And I am honored to present our host, the man, the mystery, the legend. This is Grizzly.
Hello again. It's been an interesting week. Rather more interesting than usual. I'll warn you in advance, I've used a little music and a number of quotations to help explain things. Other folks say stuff much more cleverly than I ever could. On Wednesday, I had to take a day off from work with a really severe cold, which you can probably tell I still have, by the way. I spent all day sleeping. Of course, I called in that morning, and my boss was very firm that I should give more notice the next time I get sick, and I'll be sure to keep that in mind next time. On Thursday, I figured I'd better go to work, sick or not. Didn't accomplish much after work. I figured I was out already, so I stopped off for a beer and ended up sticking around. I mean, what the heck, karaoke night and all. You know how they say you shouldn't mix cold medicine and alcohol. Well, I ended up with a whole group of young people around me at my table, having conversations in which I mostly didn't participate, just reading my email and such on my laptop. That's about as much socializing as I'd usually do anyway. And one of the young ladies complained that this one older fella wouldn't stop playing with her hair. She asked him to stop several times, and he just kept it up. So I asked her if she'd like me to stop him, and she said, yes, please. She goes back to her seat, and back comes the guy, and he starts playing with her hair again. It's a big guy. Very big guy. Bit over 6 feet, maybe, 250, 275, maybe. I'm 5'9", 225 pounds, mostly fat. So I walk up to him, and I say in a very loud voice, back off. He smiles down at me, and he says, you're kidding, right? So I said, no, I'm not kidding, and I pushed him. Well, needless to say, he didn't take that at all well. But when he went after me, then the other guys jumped in to back him off, and then the bartender talked to him, and then his mother talked to him, and then he left. So, how did I feel about taking on this much larger, much drunker bully? And I do mean bully. Well, give me a second to think about that. Meanwhile, let me play for you an instrumental piece by the Raventones that I seem to have overlooked when I last stopped by their website. Little thing called Terrified. terrified. You might also recognize a quote from Frank Herbert's novel, Dune, which is called The Litany Against Fear. It's all over the internet. I found it on Wikipedia. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it is gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. Well, I must admit I didn't say the litany against fear to myself before confronting the bully. I wish I had. That would have been kind of cool. But instead I took a deep breath in and I let it out. And I suppose the closest quote to what I thought of at that moment was from that old Tom Cruise movie, Risky Business. Sometimes you just gotta say, what the fuck? Why did I do it? What the hell was I thinking? Because I can't stand bullies. Especially bullies who think they can get away with it. And really you would have too. I mean, it's such a small thing, isn't it? Such a small thing, playing with a girl's hair. And he really is a very large guy. Except, well, she told him to stop. And it was an invasion of her personal space, and it really was intended as a power play. And it was bullying. He figured no one would call him on such a small thing, and no one would dare to interfere with such a big guy. He didn't count on an old, stupid, drunken, stubborn fellow like myself who absolutely hates bullying and bullies. Well, like I said, they threw him out. But he came back later and sat at the end of the bar and drank his beer, and he glared at me. So I waved at him just to show there were no hard feelings. And for some reason he came running up and wrapped his arm around my neck, shouting something like, "Don't you play with me," and was again wrestled off of me and told to leave the bar. I spent the rest of the evening wondering if he was going to come charging back in with a gun. People do these days, don't they? So, how do I feel now about confronting him? Well, still a bit scared. But I still figure it was the right thing to do, and of course all the other guys told me it was the right thing to do and how they were going to jump in after I did it, and some of them did, at that. It was also an incredibly stupid thing to do, which might have gotten me hurt or even killed, but it was the right thing to do. Here's another quote you'll recognize, one from Edmund Burke from way back. "All that is necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing." Now, I don't feel the least bit heroic about all this. It was just the right thing to do, and it needed to be done, and being it was seemingly such a small sort of bullying to stop, and he was such a large sort of bully to stop, probably everyone would have ignored him and hoped he'd go away. Good men, good people, doing nothing. Such a small thing, after all. But I can't ignore bullies. I can't stand by and do nothing. Even when sometimes I wish I could, and even when sometimes I get hit for interfering. If I keep it up, I might even get killed someday. But I can't do nothing. Sometimes the right thing is a stupid thing, but it's still the right thing. Sometimes the right thing has a price.
Gotta love somebody like you've never been hurt before. You gotta dance like you're the only one dancing out on the floor. You gotta reach for the sky like you're not afraid to fall. And if you give anything, child, you gotta give everything you've all. That's the price of love. Yeah, that's the price of love. Yeah, there's hope and there's giving, but the best of these, it ain't cheap. And it ain't free, that's the price of love. Yeah, that's the price of love. You gotta walk that path like it's the only way out of the woods. You gotta keep on walking when nobody else thinks you should. Give up your weekend for the sake of a lonely child. Pick up the cross of hope and carry it an extra mile. That's the price of love. Yeah, that's the price of love. Yeah, there's hope and there's giving, but the best of these, it ain't cheap. It ain't free, that's the price of love. That's the price of love. Gotta care for somebody like you've never been hurt before. Gotta dance like you're the only one dancing out on the floor. You gotta reach for the sky like you're not afraid to fall. And if you give anything, child, you gotta give everything you are. Well, that's the price of love. Yeah, that's the price of love. Yeah, there's hope and there's giving, but the best of these, it ain't cheap. And it ain't free, that's the price of love. Yeah, that's the price of love. That's the price of love.
Owen Poteat, The Price of Love. You know, there's a quote I remember my dad using from time to time. A quote, as it turns out, from John Dryden. Beware the fury of a patient man. My dad was a patient man, quiet man, peace-loving man like me. So was my grandfather and my great-grandfather. Runs in the family. But my dad was also a soldier in World War II. Being a soldier also runs in the family. And my dad used to point out that a patient man will take abuse and take it and take it, and one day he'll very calmly rip your head off and pee down your neck. Or words to that effect, anyway. And that's why, although what I did was the right thing, I usually avoid that stuff because I'm really bad at fighting. I mean, if you're good at fighting, you can maybe get by hurting someone a little bit to make them stop. And when you're bad at fighting, well, you either do essentially no damage, or you cripple or kill somebody. And that's why soldiers carry guns. In particular, I worry that someday, out of anger or fear, I'll overreact and I'll hurt somebody in a way from which they'll never recover, maybe even kill somebody. And whatever they did, it'll be my fault, because I reacted the way I did. What they do is on them, but how I feel about it and how I react to it is on me, for good or ill. So I'm not ashamed of what I did, but I'm not proud either. And next time I'll do the same damn thing for the same reasons, and I'll feel the same way, because there's just no cure for stupid. And that's all I have to say about that. Questions or comments to grizzly.libsyn.com. That's the show's website. Or email to grizzliesgrowls@gmail.com. Or you could call 206-339-GRIZ. That's 206-339-4749. Anyway, good night, everybody. And peace be with you.